Hello, true crime community. I get my phone today, so I'll be able to answer all of my comments from you guys. I'd like to thank you again for, subscribing and liking. And I would like to talk today a little bit about the students, Idaho students. I got a little bit, I think, some extra information today. So let's talk about what we do know right now. Okay, what we know right now, which is facts, that number one, we know is a homicide. We know that there were 4 victims. We know that they went to heaven because they were stabbed. The coroner said that they had all been sleeping in their beds, but that's not necessarily true, because Ethan, he was found on the floor, on the second story floor. And you know that they were stabbed multiple times. I know one victim for sure had defensive wounds, and she fought really hard, and that was Xana. And let me see, what else do we have here? Okay, the other thing that I found out was that yesterday the law enforcement started going through the vehicles again, because everything is still roped off. They're still going in the house. They're keeping the house lit up at night. But yesterday they were, going through the Range Rover and the white Chevy yesterday. They did tighten up the timeline because of Kaylee's family. And I know that Kaylee's dad is getting really frustrated. I feel so bad for him. I really feel bad for that whole family. He said the last time he heard anything from law enforcement was 5 p.m. Last Wednesday. And they said they can't tell him much more. And he said they've given him some information that he hasn't told anyone, so he feels like he's very trustworthy and he won't tell anyone, but they're not going to be giving out much information like they were in the beginning. The other thing that I found out that I thought was really interesting was Xana and Ethan went to the frat party over at Ethan's frat house, right? And it's come to find out that there was a police call to that frat party that night. Now, I don't have any information on it. I don't know what time the police arrived there, and I don't know what it was about. So if anybody knows anything about that, that would be great to add to our stuff, or, investigation. The other thing that I think is really, really important. Okay, so this is really strange. Xana and Ethan, they left that frat party at 9 o'clock, so they were only there like an hour. Where were they from 9 p.m. until 1:45? And law enforcement want to know that too. I saw an interview, and this reporter was asking the guy that does all the information, the police, law enforcement guy that comes out and tells us what's going on. The reporter was asking him questions, and he asked law enforcement where they thought they were from 9 to 1:45, and they said they don't know, and if anybody has any information to please contact them. So I thought that was pretty interesting. We're on day 15. And we still have no suspects, and we have no murder weapon. The other thing that I kind of wanted to mention, like everyone kind of got together for Thanksgiving, and if anybody's in that area and they noticed anyone with like scratches or bruising, you might want to, turn that into law enforcement, because, if they have unusual bruising and scratching, that might be important. Let's see. Okay, so I just kind of wanted to bring this up because we're, we like to investigate in, criminal law, right? We like to, research and see if we can find answers. Well, I know that you've listened to many cases of serial killers in the past, and what did they start out with when they were children? They always started out with, killing animals, and they really got off on that. And the one thing that just keeps bothering me is that dog that was skinned down the road. That neighbor's dog, I don't remember the date when that occurred, but someone skinned that family's dog and they left it there. Now, they could have been like, maybe that family didn't put the dog on the leash and the dog constantly bugged people. The dog didn't deserve it, don't get me wrong, but it could have been because of that. But, it always takes me back to, all the young, when the serial killers were young, that's all they talked about was killing small innocent animals. The other thing, what you want to kind of look at with people is when post offense, it's after they commit the offense, their behavior will change. So if you see anyone whose behavior has changed, maybe they started drinking more since this massacre occurred. They might be withdrawing money from accounts. They might have cuts and scratches, which we talked about. Let's see. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was that knife. Everyone is like banking on the crime scene having the perpetrator's blood there. That's not necessarily true, because if it was a K-bar knife or a hunting knife like that, I don't have one of those. I have the kind you fold up. But these particular, say this was the knife, right down here is like a ledge thing that goes around the blade, and then this is the grip. So, if you're with that thing that goes around here like that, your hand won't slip and cut yourself. It'll stop by that, I can't remember what it's called either. The Marines have a name for it. But anyhow, you understand what I'm kind of saying, right? So like right here, here's the knife, right? And it's got this thing here, and then you grip it, and when you go to, stab an animal or whatever, it stops your hands from just sliding down and you cutting yourself. So I kind of wanted to remind everyone of that. There might not be blood at the scene from this perpetrator. And the other thing is if he wore gloves. And I was also told that they, the day that this happened, they had snow, had gotten snow, and there was snow on the ground, and it was like 20 to 25 degrees. It was freezing there. Well, someone found a glove, a black glove, and they didn't touch it. They called law enforcement and they took it into evidence. So was that glove a glove that someone dropped like while they were walking to and from college? Or was that a glove from the perpetrator? It's a good question, isn't it? And yeah, I would like to know. Okay, Moscow law enforcement stated on Friday they have collected 113 pieces of physical evidence. That's going to take a while to go through. And one thing I'm going to bring up right here, let me mark where I left off because I've been wanting to talk about this. Okay, so you know when we went through all of defund police, we don't need all these police. Okay, well now we have these cases, that require more than 5 or 6 police officers. The same thing's going on with this Cabo 6, where the young lady was killed down in Mexico, and now they have to find the people up here so they can extradite them back to Mexico. And what are they running into? Same thing with the little boy that his mom threw him in the garbage. It took us a while to round up all those people to be able to go through the garbage. Why? Because we're defunding the police departments. They're taking away more police officers, so they're not going to be able to get things done as fast as they once did. And that's frustrating, especially in a case like this. There's a whole community, a whole college, I think it's Kaylee's mom don't even want to bury the girls or have any kind of vigil because she doesn't want that person to be there, and I don't blame her. Ugh. So they have 113 pieces of physical evidence, which will take a while to go through. 260 digital submissions. That's a lot. And they want you to keep sending them because even if there's nothing in them, they might see something. They have 1,000 tips and they have interrogated over 150 people. No arrests, no recovery of the murder weapon. Oh, it's so sad. This has not been confirmed. It was on a news feed, so I'm not sure if it's true, but because the media's messing stuff up too. But I did kind of just want to talk about it, but this didn't come from law enforcement. This came from the media, and I don't know if we can trust them. It's been reported to law enforcement that there is a doorbell cam footage of a masked man walking near the student's house at 3 a.m. This was shown to the neighborhood and the frat and sorority houses, and it was said a frat member identified this man immediately. This footage was given to the police, and we are waiting to see if this is confirmed to be true. So that's kind of scary, isn't it? Okay, so let's talk about, we talked about the dogs. Some people. Okay, so I really think this person, everybody's hung up on the sexual aspect of it, and it may have still been that, but it may have been that this person just gets off on taking the lives of others, or he has fantasies and he had been watching it and watching it. It may be for a week. He may have been watching for a year. We just don't know. He keeps living that fantasy in his mind, and he gets off on living that fantasy. And he may be a part of the group, maybe he approached you and you shut him down. He watched one of the persons, or maybe all of them, we don't know. And then let's say something crazy happened in his life, or he lost his job, or his girlfriend left him, or something, catastrophic like that. This was it for him. So that may have put him over the edge and made him act on his fantasies. law enforcement continues to say it was targeted. I don't know how they know that, but they keep saying it. So I'm going to, hope that they do have something that makes them lean that way. With all the parties and get-togethers, this is where, when we get to trial, if we're not careful, and do the crime scene correctly, because this is a college, house, and there's many parties there. And it's also a rental that gets rented every 5 minutes when the, kids leave. 6 months later, another group comes in. There is going to be so much, fingerprints here that get left here, or, a piece of clothing that gets left here, or a hair. And it's going to be hard to distinguish. And the, oh my gosh, what is his name? The defending attorney that's going to defend the person who committed these crimes, he's going to be constantly saying, how do you know that wasn't, somebody, somebody that maybe this, his, oh my gosh, his, guy that he's defending, the perpetrator he's defending, he could say, well, I was there last year, and I'm sure the defense is going to use that a lot because, it was such an active place. And his, the guy that he will be defending, he might even say that, oh, I was at a party there one night, so we really have to watch those, the way that they collect the evidence and store it and all that stuff. We don't want them to tear it apart, that's for sure. Okay, so the only way that I can see law enforcement calling this targeted and staying on the targeted thing is if, now I know you're going to say that there's no SA involved. And like I said, maybe he went there to do SA, and the first room he went to was, Xana and Ethan's, and, it kind of threw his fantasy out the window, and, he still committed the murders and, went on with it. So for it to be targeted, I would think that they would see something like, like the victim being staged, like laid out a certain way, or they could have been cutting something into the body, like some people would cut words, or like a sign in the body. It may be an area that is mutilated more. A part of your body could be cut off. And if, and that's why they're so adamant about it being targeted, because, one or two of the victims may have had these kind of things done to them. And that's why they're really sticking to that. And we have to think about how Ted Bundy was, sometimes he, essayed the victims, and sometimes he just, sent them to heaven, because he got off just as much for taking their life as he did for the SA part of it as well. Okay, the other thing I wanted to mention is we know for sure it wasn't a robbery. we know for sure it wasn't a sexual act, right? So is this somebody trying to get back at someone? Is this a jealousy thing? Or is this fantasy driven? That's what you have to constantly keep in the back of your mind. Xana's dad's, the other thing that is kind of weird, because they said from 9 to 1:45 we've got a gap of time for Xana and Ethan, but her dad said that he called at midnight, and she said that her and Ethan had been chilling at home and watching TV, and he said that was around midnight. And then law enforcement said they all returned home around the same time at, like, I think it's 1:56 now. There was a neighbor, Jeremy. He is now carrying a weapon. He said one of the professors has been there a whole decade or longer with, 25,000 students. And he said it's like a ghost town. It's eerie right now. Neighbors are adding lights and cameras. There's that neighbor also stated occasionally there were parties, people in the window 4 or 5 times a week at the student's home. When neighbors walked his dog, he could see them. He did not personally know the victims. He stated that the town is like a ghost town now. You see police and media around, and that's all you see, he said. So sad. He said when it first happened, police went door to door and spoke to everyone to see if they heard or seen anything. And that part of the behind the house, that wooded area, there's actually a path that goes from the frat house down. You can see a path that goes right down to their house. They're saying that it doesn't feel comfortable in the town. It's there's a very uneasy feeling there. Another neighbor said it's like something out of a TV show or a movie. He said it's been so quiet. He said there was always music going on. He said he didn't think the students had more than 10 guests at a time. And I believe this is a premeditated, I think this perpetrator, knew what he was going to do. Let's see. The media did ask this, law enforcement communication guy if about the stalker and the peeping Tom, and the law enforcement fella said that they're keeping all their doors open. Let's see. The mother of one of the surviving roommates said the girls heard something and did not know what it was, but this was not confirmed by law enforcement. The father was told that one student was targeted, and law enforcement was extremely vague. It's just human nature for all of us to want to know, but there's just some things we just can't know until it's over. We can do all our research, but we can't expect law enforcement to give us all of what they got, because they have to be able to nail this guy, right? And you got to get it right on the first one, right? So we got to make sure we let them do their job and get the answers. The family is very outspoken and supportive of Jack D. That's Kaylee's boyfriend, I think it is, and they were taking a break. What if law enforcement are saying we're not looking at him, and told the family, it doesn't look this way to me though, and told the family to say that you believe it wasn't him, and they're like stringing him along to trap him. But I don't feel that way. I don't see the sister, the mom, or the dad being uncomfortable. So I don't think that's an issue, but it's something to think about. Okay, so like, the quicker you can solve this case, like the early hours, early days, they're very important in solving cases, and the longer it drags on, then you have to hope that the 113 pieces of physical evidence that you have, you got something in there. Because right now, I don't really think they have anything except that physical evidence and, oh gosh, the other things that I listed to you. 1,000, you know what it is. Okay, so. Law enforcement informed the families that they would not be giving updates as they had been in the past. I just wanted to remind everyone that Ethan was one of 3 triplets. So there were 2 boys and a girl, because a lot of people didn't know that, which I was surprised. He was getting a degree in sports management. Ethan, his brother and sister, they went to elementary, they went to junior high, high school, and college together. That just breaks my heart. They said he had a great sense of humor, he was kind to everyone, and he loved to be around kids. It just breaks my heart. Okay, so you know how everybody's tripping about this unconscious person? 1100, this is what it said. 1100 block, King Road, unconscious person on King Street is what was said in the beginning. Where did that go? I did that. Well, anyhow, this is kind of what I was told, or I read. I wasn't told, I read it. Okay, so everybody's tripping about this unconscious person. So the girls woke up that were down in the basement sleeping. They woke up and they came upstairs. And when they came upstairs, they saw the glass sliding door was open, and they saw Ethan, and they saw a mess, right? It was horrendous. And they both took off running outside. They were in shock, totally in shock. And the one roommate passed out, and the other roommate was hysterically screaming and crying. And, the people that ended up coming into the house were like people that were around and bystanders when they heard the girl screaming and the other girl passed out. Right before she passed out, she dialed 911 and then she passed out. That was the unconscious person outside. And one of the guys picked up her phone, and he was the one that was talking to 911. And in this article, it said that he was a bystander. And so, yeah, that's so sad. they were both in shock and they were a mess. So a couple, before the guy talked to 911, and a couple of the guys went into the apartment to see if they could help Ethan. So there might be a little bit of their contamination there. And then the girls didn't really mess anything up because they supposedly ran outside. The paramedics arrived to the scene. And so it doesn't look like the roommates walked through the house and contaminated the crime scene. All right. Okay, so Kaylee wasn't supposed to even be there. She was supposed to be at home for the holidays with her family, but she wanted to show her best friend her Range Rover, and that's why she went back. Plus, she wanted to go to a sorority party on Friday night. I told you that the party that Ethan and Xana went to, the police were called there. Searching cars again, I told you about. Let's see. Okay, so the media said that the gruesome murders of 4 college students were killed in off-campus home. 2 weeks after the death, no suspects or murder weapons. Media is reporting the killer likely entered the house between 3 and 6. And I've heard law enforcement say between 3 and 4. That's a really tight timeline there. So I'm not really sure, I'm not really sure which one's correct. Now I gotta find that one. This one's super sad. Let me find it. Where did I put it? This one. No. Oh, it's right here. Duh. Okay, so I wanted to tell you about this. I think this is so sad. So, Xana's mom, her name's Cara Denise Kernoodle. She was arrested on November the 19th on drug charges and trafficking. She is being held on a $50,000 bond in Idaho. This happened very close to the deaths of her daughter and the other 3 students. Not sure if there could be a connection. I doubt it. But when people are into drugs and, it must have been a lot because she's on a $50,000 bond. Maybe those people that, you never know who they're going to go after to get their money back or their product back. So I'm not sure if there could be a connection there. This is just so sad. The mother also has a criminal history that goes back several years. And that just breaks my heart. That poor girl. Jeez. So I think I told you all about that. I think most of the other stuff everyone is kind of aware of. I just hope that we can say a prayer and, help law enforcement find who did this so those poor people up there can, put their hearts and their minds to rest, and Kaylee's mom can lay the girls to rest, and, they can have their vigils, and it's just so sad. I just hope they find this guy. I hope he does not do anything else. I hope this was isolated. And I'm going to get my phone today, and hopefully tomorrow I'll take it to the store and have them hook it all up. And then I'll start answering my comments from all of you. I'd like to thank you for watching my videos and subscribing. And I want you all to have a blessed day. God bless.